Good evening, footy fans, and to everyone tuning into this week's episode of Between the Posts. I'm Indiana Rogers, and accompanying me on the table today is Jad. We've got a little bit to cover today, Jad, haven't we?
Yeah, big show coming up. We have Phil Herden's men's and women's wrap, Tommy Javor's Div 1 wrap, Coach of the Week coming from Div 6, and the Division Specialist, which is your Div 3 on Div 6, so we'll be the ones doing that segment.
Not to mention, we'll also be taking a look at the Roll the Dice leaderboard for the last time in regulation before the season is complete and a winner is crowned. So stay tuned, because this will be the last time we get an update on that. We also take a look around the league to see what's going on, and marks and goals of the week will be viewed, and Jad and I will be deciding on some of the best ones, as well as allowing yourself to make up your own mind on your personal preference. But stay tuned, there's a lot to unpack on tonight's episode of Between the Posts.
Welcome to the Division 1 weekly wrap here at League HQ, surrounded by the beautiful Archies and with a record studio audience of 6. So yes, great to have you all in the studio, thank you. Alright, the stream team coming to you from the newly named Filming Footy Media Centre. That's where Phil and I get to spend every Saturday. We went out and saw PAC and Sacred Heart. Again, well, we all tipped PAC, but we said we wouldn't be surprised after what we've seen recently from Sacred Heart. And boy, oh boy, did they deliver, like the postman. Sacred Heart 11-11-77, PAC 6-7-43, a 34-point win there to the Shockers. Absolutely brilliant display by that team. They impressed me no end. None more so than captain number 9, Clayton Simons. You'll have a look at some of his footage now. Now, the Boffins who do my stats say he had 23 touches. I reckon it was closer to 30, but we'll take their word on it. 23 touches at 83%, 14 marks and 3 snags, all in the first half. When his team needed him, he stepped up, kicked captain's goals. He was simply outstanding. I'll go as far as to say the best game I've seen from a wingman this year. And when you consider I've watched Bo Schwartz and a couple of others play, that is a huge wrap. While we're looking at his wonderful highlights, and there should be some good ones in there, the goal kickers of PAC, the dynamic duo of Davis and Brazel did their job. Davis kicking 3, Brazel kicking 2, but only the 3 goal scorers, a bit of an Achilles heel there for PAC. They just couldn't get quality connection to the forward line. And for Sacred Heart, it was that man Simons with 3 and Sam Lauby with 2 late goals. As always, Stream Team Games means prizes, and there was prizes coming out the yin-yang. So let's start with the TJ Award for Thongs, and this one, well, I'm not going to lie, it put a little tickle in my happy box, because it was Chester Forster on A-grade debut, kicking a goal. I used to coach Chester as a 13-year-old, undefeated premiership, whatever, that's not important right now. And he has grown, he's taller than me. He used to come up to my waist, little Chesy, and he had a crack all day, kicked a goal, started in melee, not that we promote that. Just a fantastic player, and it is great to see you playing senior Division 1 football. You're better than I ever was. Well done, Ches. Our other vouchers, the Mosey Voucher Best Team Player Award, $100 to the Mosey. You wouldn't sneeze at that, would you? Oscar. I've just crossed Archie and Oscar. It's Oscar Lovelock, of course, brother Archie from the Bays and son of Paula and Grant. So a great game by Oscar. He was part of that midfield that lowered PAC's colours for only the second time this year. The next photo is Seb Kerish, our player of the day. Phil reckons he took 4. He owned up to only taking 3 bounces. But his run from defence, his left foot, he is a pretty footballer to watch. I think a lot of the footy vernacular these days is they say sexy. I don't like calling young men sexy, but it's good-looking footy. And, of course, the New Balance voucher and Dartfish beanie. And the only reason I'm in this photo is he asked for a cuddle. He was pretty happy with his game. He's the captain. And why wouldn't you be happy? Well done, Clayton Simons. So the Roll the Dice Player of the Year award, and I've got some Roll the Dice news for you a bit later on. He's trialling soon. Brad Noble, 1 vote. Sean Tapp, best defender on the ground. So Noble 26 hit-outs, dominated the big men department. Well done. Sean Tapp, again, best defender on the ground. I know the umpires are in love with this game. And Clayton Simons. The one thing I haven't touched on, I might just mention as well, I've only glossed over it. Twice this year I've seen PAC's midfield beaten. They're not in the votes because they were all so consistent. No big stats getters, but Joel Cross, Oscar Lovelock, Ethan Moore, outstanding in your midfield roles, and Bo McCray till he went down injured. With the stats, It was an even game to the last quarter, as Sacred Heart do. They break teams open. 8 more inside 50s. Disposals the same. 23 more effective kicks, but 7 more clearances, 8 more frees, 10 more hitouts. I'd suggest that's all in that patch in the last quarter where they arrested control with 4 of the last 5 goals. My final thought on this game is, if I'm being honest, and I've mentioned it to you, probably sick of hearing it, PAC Glenunga Grand Final. There's a new contender, and they are the real deal. Sacred Heart, watch out for them. Okay, next game, Old Iggy's and St. Peter's, Battle of the Cellar Dwellers. Who will avoid relegation? Well, in the end, it went as expected. Old Iggy's 9-11-65, nearly got to 10 goals for the first time this year. St. Peter's 14-13-97. Our player in focus is number 15 from St. Peter's. It's Nick Michaels. He's a small forward. He actually played a bit of B grade last year. I tagged him when I was coaching against him in the B grade last year. He's a very intelligent young footballer, and that certainly was the case on the weekend. He kicked 5 goals for. I'm sure a lot of these highlights will have him kicking sausage rolls. So he was the chief destroyer, with Lockie de Cesare kicking 3 for Spocky, while Brandon Lord had a good game for Old Iggy's, kicking 3. Let's go into the Dartfish team stats now, and it's pretty common themes here with Old Iggy's. They're just not getting on their hands on the ball as much as the opposition. So St. Peter's 66 more disposals, of that 53 more effective disposals. Really, it parallels to a win pretty clearly. 8 more clearances, 6 more tackles, 7 more marks, 7 more inside 50s. Probably stats that line up with the result. Business as usual right there, as Indy cracks his neck really loud in the audience. That was very good, Indy. I want to give a special mention to Quinn Spencer from Old Iggy's. Really good game. 19 touches, 9 marks, 2 goals, 4. Just clean up that conversion and you'd see yourself getting in the Roll the Dice Player of the Year awards. Really interesting votes. All St. Peter's. Lockie de Cesare, 1 vote. 2 votes to Johnny Brodus. Now, Johnny Brodus is now the most capped Play HQ best player. He's been the Play HQ best players 10 times. Great consistent season from the Adonis, and 2 votes for him, and that man Nick Michaels, best on ground. Let's head over to Brighton and Port District, and normally I'm always quick to tell you I got 5 out of 5, and I'll often mention I got 4 out of 5. This week I stunk. I think I got 2 out of 5, maybe 3, but I certainly got this one wrong, and I reckon most people did. Brighton 13-14-92. Port District 11-8-74. Our player in focus, new player. I haven't seen this guy play yet. It's number 4, Harrison Boyle from Brighton. He had 18 touches at 72%, 4 marks, 4 frees, tackles, smothers, and of course a nice little sausage roll. So the goal kickers, again, Jake Tarker keeps bobbing up. He kicked 4. He was the chief destroyer, whilst Gavin Shepherd had a slight return to form after a very down game last week. He kicked 3. The stats. Look, I try and analyse the stats. I do get up first thing on a Sunday morning. I don't do hangovers anymore, so I'm a stats reader these days. And I love the Dartfish stats, and I've got to be honest, I couldn't actually decipher any clear indications or patterns as to why this game went the way it was, and I wasn't there. Obviously, Brighton had 8 more scoring shots. That was from 10 more inside 50s. That's the only clear standout. They had 9 more marks and 10 more free kicks. That was the only lopsided statistical categories. Apart from that, it was like looking at a mirror image. So, yeah, not too much to read into there. Well done to Brighton. At home, got the job done. That's huge. Keeps their season alive, and I'll discuss the ladder later on. It's big ramifications. That win puts them back in the mix. And if they do make finals, this is the very team they'll be playing. Roll the Dice Player of the Year time, 1 vote. These are all Brighton. Well done. Jarman Segal, he's popped quite a few times this year, having a good consistent season. On the back of 20 touches at 85%, Otis Carthy was second best on ground, and that man, Harry Boyle, was best for Brighton and the game. Let's get over to page 3, and it's my beloved Rams, 17-9-1-11, Goodwood 7-6-48, 63-point win to Glenunga. The player in focus, and it's hard for me not to smile on this one, wearing my old number 23, Jackie the Hatchet Matchet. They call him Matchy. You look at him and you go, oh, what is he, 30, 32? He got into a nightclub as an 11-year-old. He was born a man-child. He's a 6'4" goal kicking machine these days. Don't shrug your shoulders at me, mate. He did. he kicked 6 goals, 1 from 14 touches. He had 8 marks. He can kick the ball 65 metres. Now, people say he can kick the ball 65 metres. He's normally at the other end taking the kick-outs. Yesterday was at the frontal end, kicking 6 goals. Great story about young Jack Matchy. Last year when I was coaching him, his dad came up to me at half-time, and his dad is not someone to mess with, opposition supporters. He said, I need you to go up and I need you to punch him. It's the only way to fire him up. Now, I didn't punch his son, but I think Matchy, if he stuffs up, gets a harder from the old man than anyone else. So well done, Matchy, great game. Team stats wise, interesting to note, Goodwood 21 more touches. Goodwood had 11. So Glenunga had 11 more tackles, 11 more clearances, 7 more marks. One of the stats we don't have, we have the effective kicks and the ineffective kicks in Dartfish, and it's a wonderful stat. We need the long kick stats because that's where Glenunga can get you. They take the grass, they go long, and they push it down to the next line and get it out of the danger area really well. Let's look at the votes, and 1 vote to Tom Michaelani. He's my favourite Michaelani. I don't care about Max. I'm sorry, Max. But Tom Michaelani, he's a tackling machine. He had 7 absolute rip snorters on the weekend to go with his 26 touches. He's back in form. We'll look out opposition. The tip rat, Bowie Schwartz, 25 touches. He is electric. Just managed to squeeze out 5 frees as well, the tippy. He's a crafty young man. And that man, Jack Matchett, best on ground. Another upset. I'll tell you what, this round was harder to pick than a broken nose. Tea Tree Gully 14-9. This is at Pertaringa. 14-9-93. Broadies 18-7-115. So a really solid 22-point win there for the Tigers. One man that wants to be a Broadview Tiger and live a life of danger, number 33, J.O. Leary, 25 touches at 72%. 10 marks, topped it off with a goal. I was at Broadview Saturday morning for Auskick. That's right, Auskick. And they identified the game as the one they must win. This is the one they have to win to make finals. I'll talk about that a little bit later on when I go into ladder. But they went there, they went to Pertaringa, and they got the chocolates, got revenge for the return clash that was at Broadview earlier in the year. For the goal kickers, Luke Brown, again, he's a dangerous footballer. He is a weapon. He kicked 5 at Tea Tree Gully, along with Pistol Pete Personos bobbing up with 3. Bit of a shout out to young Pistol. 26 for the year, now moves into 4th place on the goal kicking list. That's a really good effort from Pete Personos. I expect him to get up close to 50 the way he's tracking. Maybe not 50, maybe 45, but yeah, Pistol's having a good year. For Broadies, Hamish Ralph kicked 4. Kobe Russell, see him in there all the time, he kicked 3. Match stats, again, 42 more effective 42 more touches for Broadview, 32 of those effective. Just managed to get their hand on the ball. 12 more inside 50s and 12 more marks. I think a couple of the statistical categories, I spoke to the big boss this morning, so I think a couple of them weren't quite right. They're being edited. By the time you read this, you'll probably see slight adjustments to some of those. But yeah, Broadview definitely got the ball in there more, and they made hay while the sun was shining. Only had 2 more scoring shots, but a 22-point win. Roll the dice time, and they're all Broadies players, as you'd expect. Hamish the Hammer Ralph, his 4 goals, 2 yielded him 1 vote. Sam Daniele, the man they call Wazza, I don't know why, they just do, all right. 30 touches, 2nd best on ground. And J.O. Leary, I think that's 2 best on grounds in a row. I could be wrong, but he certainly is starting to make his move, try and get on that horse. Lucky him on a rocky little chair. All right, that's all our games for this week, but there is a bit of an update on the Roll the Dice Player of the Year. Now, if you've been watching this week, and I know a lot of you have, and just quickly before I go on to my next point, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to come to the Media Centre yesterday, and thank us for what we do. I had a guy from Victoria come in and say he can't watch us every week interstate. He was at the game yesterday. I said, you must be a PAC supporter. He said, he said, you must be a shock supporter. You're very happy. He goes, I'm actually a PAC supporter. So I've had a bad loss. He still took the time. Thank you. We really value your feedback, especially when it's positive. And obviously being able to televise every game, it's making Div 1 the comp of the people. All right. So we're glad everyone's enjoying it, and well done to all my co-commentators. Back on to Red Rowie. This Tuesday is the day. Probably by the time you're watching this, he will have trial. So all you guys on the leaderboard, you're going to be having a look at that trial and just, what am I getting? Am I getting Farlap? Am I getting Winks? Or am I getting some sort of 3-legged donkey? I'll tell you what, Red Rowie is going to be a star. At least I hope he is. All right. Now, leaderboard time. There is some discrepancies on the leaderboard. I've heard from Abe Davis's mum. I've heard from Abe Davis. I've heard from various people. Tickets Penny and his mum. We need a recount. So I'm not sure. I'm in differing opinion on some of these votes. So I'll tell you what I do know. There are 7 players on 10 votes, all within striking distance. The likes of Andrew Bradley, the cockroach Nick Wunke, Bowie Schwartz, Cam Wildman, Nigel Osborne, Colotto, Gray. Curran's definitely on 11. I've got Blake Penny on 13. He was either on 12 or 13. And I've got Abe Davis on 16. Some people are saying he's on 17. I'll do a count back and make sure we've got that spot on. And I'm not sure if we're going to be revealing votes any time for the rest of the year. It's going to be all surprises. But you're probably going to be able to follow at home as to who wins. Good luck to whoever wins. Whether maybe it's Able tickets, if it's either you two big-bodied, heavy-set, strong gargantuans, for God's sake, don't ride the horse. Just watch it. All right, let's get on to the ladder because the ladder has changed. It's got real interesting. You can tell I'm excited. I haven't even had a Red Bull this morning. All right, for the first time since round one, I think, Glenunga back on top. They are 12-2. Half a game clear of PAC sitting in second. It's not really panic stations yet for PAC, I wouldn't think. But that's their second loss of the year. Both times when they've lost, the midfielders, as I said, had their colours lowered. Very rare that happens. In third place, the team to watch, Sacred Heart, 11-3. The important bit for Sacred Heart, obviously they want to climb. They've probably got their eye on top spot potentially. They do sit 2% behind Glenunga. One good win against one of those lower teams could change that very quickly. That equates to about 20 goals, by the way, for those of you playing along at home. So Phil tells me. It's what happens next. It's Port District, 10% and 2 games behind. That's as good as 3 games with 4 games to go. 15, 16, with 4 games to go. So you'd suggest the top 3, I think they're pretty much sewn up. Port will finish 4th, but then what happens in 5th? Oh, the ramifications are endless. You've got Tea Tree Gully, 6 and 8, 48%. Brighton, 6 and 8, 45%. And Broadies, 44.95%, 6 and 8. So who's going to make that 5th spot? Who knows? What I will say is looking at the 3 teams, Broadies still have to play St. Peter's and Old Eagles. You think they're going to win those games without being disrespectful of those teams. So you suggest Broadies win one of the other 2, they get to 9, 9 gets you in. Good luck to all those teams fighting out. Goodwood 4.5, Goodwood with a huge game this week. Their finals chance aren't over. They need to win all 4 of their remaining games though, highly unlikely. St. Peter's, they're battling to get out of the relegation zone. They get a crack at it this week in a game that I'll be covering and looking forward to. And Old Eagles, they're 1 and whatever, and they'll stay 1 and whatever, and they'll be better in Div 2 than they were in Div 1. Yeah. Sorry, it is what it is. All right, let's look at this week's games and the Media Centre. That's right, the Filming Footy Media Centre, whichever side of it. Is it that side, Jad, or is it that side? It's that side. This one here, the Media Centre, will be out at Goodwood. It's a beautiful place to commentate, Goodwood. Looking forward to that. Been there once this year, taking on St. Peter's. We've talked about it. It's 8th versus 9th. Relegation is just as important as, well, it's probably not as important as winning a premiership, but it's one of those really important things in football. Teams want to stay in Div 1, that's what you fight to get to. This game is huge. I'll take Goodwood in a close one because they're at home, they're a 5-goal better team. The next game is Broadview and Glenunga. If Broadview can steal this, they will play finals, but it's Glenunga. Glenunga, a few injuries at the moment, thus they're trying a few different things, a few different players, but they've got a bit of depth this year. Fortunately, didn't quite have as much last year. You have to feel for their B-grade coach. But Glenunga are dangerous. They'll probably take care of Broadies. But if Glenunga are off their game, Broadview at home with that beautiful $88 million development they're doing, just coming along nicely. The Tigers, they're purring. PAC and Old Eagles, well, Old Eagles can't take a trick. They're getting PAC at the wrong time and they will get torched. Port District, Tea Tree Gully. It's 2 teams that are out of form, let's be honest. Port have lost 3 in a row. Tea Tree Gully coming off a bad loss at home. Port are 4th, Tea Tree Gully are 5th. It's a huge game. Tea Tree Gully probably need to win this, I think, to stay in the fight towards the end of the year. I don't think they will, though. Port at home for mine. And Sacred Heart and Brighton. This one is at Stratorama Oval. Some of you are probably saying, where the hell was Stratorama Oval? Well, you might have known it as Glenelg Oval, previously Glider Oval. Who did my garage doors, thank you. Sacred Heart and Brighton, they both exist pretty much on Brighton Road. That'll be a huge game. Brighton just starting to do good things. They're pretty consistent after a horrendous round 1. But for me, Sacred Heart should win and win well. This has been TJ with a weekly wrap. A bit longer this week because I'm still a little bit excited about the way things are shaping up. But stay tuned for more Between the Posts with Indy and Jad.
Hello and welcome to this week's Coach of the Week. Thanks to Farmers Leap out in Padthaway. The Coach of the Week this week comes from Adelaide Lutheran. It is Andrew Zobel who received these 2 random shot wine, 1 Cab Sauv, 1 Shiraz. Very nice, high quality wine. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
G'day, Jack. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we'll go through and just see about your season, ask some questions, and as you're the Coach of the Week for this week. So basically on the weekend you had a big win over Central United to move yourself into those final positions, nearly locking it away for the rest of the season. But with that game, what do you find your chances going into the finals?
Yeah, it was an important game for us because Centrals were the other side vying for a final spot. So we had a game break on them already, but that's given us a 2-game buffer now. So it was a crucial one to win. Very happy we got over the line. They beat us in the first round. So we were very happy to get the win. And we've got 4 weeks to go, and hopefully we can cement our spot.
Yeah, I saw it was quite a comprehensive win. Did you expect that going into it, or?
No, not really. I mean, they're a quality side. As I say, they beat us last time.
Yeah.
We were a little bit undermanned last time, so we were hopeful that we'd be able to turn the results with a bit stronger showing. But the guys really performed, and we've got a few of our injured players back at the moment, and as I say, hopefully that stands us in good stead for the next 4 weeks.
Awesome, yeah. And talking about the team, so who are some of the younger players or most improved players in your team that you'd like to shout out, or just watch to see them grow in the future?
Yeah, look, we could be here for a while if I mentioned the young players. We've had a really strong strategy this year of recruiting some good quality young fellas back to the club. And we've been really successful there, but obviously with that comes a lot of inexperience. So, our form has been a bit up and down based on, having a very young, inexperienced side. So it's probably, a little bit unfair to single them out, because I think we've got something like, 7 or 8 guys that are under 21. Yeah. But certainly our best player yesterday was Alex Lillicrap. He played really well. Ethan Sims had a good game from the southeast. But there's a number of them. Cody Hench, Will Vaughan, guys that are playing some really good footy. And as I say, we've got a wave of them. We've got a number of them playing in the reserves as well. So it's really set us up for the future, I think.
Good to see, and hopefully you can keep the group together and they grow the chemistry and all that.
I hope so. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's always been the intention, and that was our plan for the future. So as long as we can keep them together, as you say. Awesome. I think we'll be in pretty good stead.
So more about you, because you are the coach of the week, so we want to highlight you. What is some of your background in footy, or how do you get into coaching with Adelaide Lutheran?
Well, I've been coaching for a long time. I'm probably the older generation of coaches. I first started coaching in the southeast, senior footy back in the mid-90s, so I've been doing it for a while. When I relocated back to Adelaide in 2010, we had a connection with Adelaide Lutheran through a club I was coaching in the southeast. They reached out and asked me if I'd consider coaching now that I'm in Adelaide, which I did. So in 2010 I did a 3-year stint with Adelaide Lutheran, which I really enjoyed. Fell in love with the club. It's a fantastic club. It's got its challenges. It's got its financial challenges, and we're trying to get some new club rooms, etc. But it provides itself as a real haven for young kids coming from the country, and that's what I really liked about it. And basically last year I got back involved with the club in a semi-director's role, and the senior coach at the end of the year decided not to go on, and asked if I'd take over the reins and help with some recruiting. So pretty much that's how I've ended up back there this year. I hadn't intended to go back to coach, but I'm back there now. I'm enjoying it. As I say, a lot of young kids, and it's a very good development environment at Adelaide Lutheran at the moment. So hopefully we can continue that, and that obviously wins like yesterday makes it all worthwhile. Yeah,
no, definitely. That's good to see all the history you've had and helping out that club. So still 4 games to go in the season. So just looking around at the teams coming into the finals, who are some of the more dangerous teams, or teams you really got to look out for coming into the final games and into the finals?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I mean, it's the first time coaching Div 6. I've coached at higher levels before, so I was a little bit unsure what to expect this year. But I'll be honest, the quality of footy I think's been surprisingly good. Yeah. So the teams that we've got to go are all above us on the ladder, and all 4 of them have been impressive. Marion are obviously clearly top, and Greenacres is sitting second, but equally Fitzroy and Salisbury both gave us a bit of a touch-up in the first round. So, all 4 of them are certainly sides that we're wary of, and, we're looking forward to meeting them, with a bit stronger lineup, but all 4 of them are playing pretty good footy, and on their week, are very hard to beat.
Yeah, and as you said, a tough draw coming up, all the top teams basically left. How does that, how do you go about preparing for those kind of matches, and also for when you have to verse them in the finals, hopefully, if you make it to finals? Yeah,
look, it's a great challenge for us, and a great challenge for the young side. I've always been in the theory, if you can't beat the top sides leading into finals, then there's not much point being in finals anyway. So we absolutely embrace the challenge. We're looking forward to the next 4 weeks and just testing where we are. We'll hopefully be a bit stronger than where we were first round. So as I say, we've got a few players back, and we're just starting to come together a bit as a side. So fingers crossed, we'll have a better showing for our players and our supporters. And let's see how we go.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show, and enjoy these beautiful wines from the Farmers League for your Sunday evening.
I definitely will.
Yeah, that was the Coach of the Week for this week.
Well, good day, footy fans. My name's Phil Herden, and thanks to O'Neill Sportswear, welcome to the Weekend Wrap. A look at all the A-grade men's results, ladders and upcoming big games in the Adelaide Footy League from Saturday, July the 29th. First division to look at, the C-Max Clinical Research Division 7, where the rich got richer, the top 4 all winning. Ingle Farm, 79 points over Flinders University. OSB Lonsdale, a big win at Hackham by 86. Houghton had their hands full but came up the goods at home, beating Mitchell Park by 9 points. And Para Hills also won by the biggest margin of the division, 103 points. So the ladder, pretty much the same, but the top 4 have broken away from the bottom 4. That's important. I'll explain why in a sec. Ingle Farm from Para Hills, OSB Lonsdale from Houghton, Mitchell Park in the 5. Flinders University still just half a game out and a better percentage, not that that'll matter. And then Hackham and Mawson Lakes in their own little battle at the foot of the table. The game's coming up, to be advised. What's happened here is it's a 8-team competition. They have had their 2-round robin series. There are 3 games left. What happens is, I believe, and I'll stand corrected if wrong, the league will break this into the top 4 and the bottom 4. So Ingle Farm, Para Hills, OSB Lonsdale and Houghton will play a little round robin between them. Mitchell Park, Flinders Uni, Hackham and Mawson Lakes will play a little round robin between them. Top 5 still make the final, so Flinders Uni may still have a chance. Mawson Lakes may have a chance to get off the bottom. And Houghton, well, they got a 5-point gap between them and Mitchell Park, and that should be enough with only 6 premiership points available to see the Raiders in the finals, regardless of what happens in this special round robin series. Check the Adelaide Footy League website and Play HQ for game details next Saturday. On to the O'Neill Sportswear Division 6. Key battle for third spot, won by Salisbury at home by 8 points. Greenacres keeping pace with Marion at the top of the table, beating Rosewater by 82. In the Battle of the Dogs, Adelaide Lutheran have really staked a claim on a finals berth, holding Century United 4 goals and winning by 77. St Paul's have pretty much escaped relegation, beating Smithfield by 33 points, and the Cats look like they're going to Division 7, as are Brahma Lodge, going down to Marion, 214 points. Neither of those sides officially relegated yet, but it is just a matter of time. The ladder in the O'Neill Sportswear Division 6, Marion from Greenacres, 2-game gap to Salisbury, who have a game back on Fitzroy, and a game and a half back to Adelaide Lutheran. The 5 look set with 4 games to go. Adelaide Lutheran with a 2-game gap, a little bit of percentage on Central United, a lot of percentage on Rosewater. Then it drops back to St Paul's, who have a 2.5 game gap to Smithfield, a 3.5 game gap to Brahma Lodge. Another Brahma Lodge loss or St Paul's victory next week will officially relegate the Tigers of Brahma Lodge. The big games next week, will Brahma Lodge and Smithfield play each other? There's 2 premiership points that someone's going to take home. Fitzroy and Adelaide Lutheran is 4th versus 5th, and Salisbury and Greenacres is 3rd hosting 2nd. So maybe a chance for Fitzroy to make the double chance battle a little bit more interesting. So some big games there in the O'Neill Sportswear Division 6. Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5, and here Blackfriars, they've played some high-scoring games and lost. They've played some close games and lost. But this time, Blackfriars prevailed. 6 points over Eastern Park. A loss the Demons may well rue, especially when you look at the 39 scoring shots to 25. 14 more shots and a 6-point loss that may well send the Demons to Div 6. More on the ladder in a sec. Colonel Light Gardens created an upset. Third beat second. Kilburn have had some big wins. They went down on the road this time by 6 points to Colonel Light Gardens. Trinity took care of Elizabeth by 56, pretty much entrenched their finals berth, as did West Croydon. 75-point winners over Pulteney. And the last game, well, Jeps Cross, they remain the sole A-grade undefeated team across all the men's divisions in the Adelaide Footy League. But it was probably a bigger battle, and dare we say kicking again. 25 scoring shots to 21. The Cats led that, but couldn't get them on the scoreboard. And a result, Woodville South might rue, as they're now well and truly in the relegation zone. Looking at the ladder, Jeps Cross have one hand on the minor premiership, 2-game gap to Kilburn. Further 2 games back to Colonel Light Gardens, another 2 games back to Trinity. So I think the top 4 pretty much set with 4 games to go. West Croydon in the 5, 7 and 7, a game and 7% ahead of Pulteney at 6 and 8. That 7% at this time of the season is as good as another win. And it's a battle in 6. The bottom 4 battling for relegation. And if you look at that ladder and you think for a sec, if Eastern Park had have got over Blackfriars, would have had 4 teams on 3 or 4 wins battling, and that team on 4 wins would have had a poor percentage. As it is, it's a pretty close race. Blackfriars look the safest. Elizabeth have always got to worry about their percentage. Woodville South a win away from safety. Eastern Park now 2 wins from safety with 4 games to go. The games here, Elizabeth and Woodville South, 8th versus 9th. Winner of that will be out of the relegation zone. The loser will be in it this time next week. And Jeps Cross, West Croydon is probably the other battle of note, first hosting 5th. Lots of things happening in the Wakefield Sports Clinic Division 5. As there is in the 9 News Division 4. Now, as expected, Plympton beat Portland, 143 points, puts the Dogs in 3rd spot. Hectorville beat Walkerville. That means Hectorville's jumped the Cats in the standings. We'll see that in a sec. Lockleys, big win over Morphy Parks. Morphy Parks are out of the 5 as we speak. Top of the table clash, Paraka, 10 goals over CBC. And Kenilworth, I think, pretty much doomed Mitcham to Div 5 next year with a 25-point victory. Although Mitcham did their best, 12 goals, 3 is sensational accuracy. The ladder in Div 4, it's just ever starting to split apart, having been so log-jammed in the middle. Paraka with that win, well, they're 2 points ahead of the Dolphins. Plympton, a game and a half back, and only half a game ahead of Lockleys and Hectorville, who both won on the weekend. Morphy Parks are a win. Good percentage if they can get the wins to get back in the 5. Kenilworth not too far behind either, although percentage needs a bit of work. Walkerville, well, they have a draw. Percentage probably irrelevant. They're just half a game back of those 2, a game and a half out of the 5. Then it drops to 2.5 games back to Mitcham, 4 games left. Portland already officially relegated. The games in Div 4 of note, CBC and Hectorville is 2nd versus 5th. Morphy Parks and Kenilworth is 6th versus 7th. If the Dolphins beat Hectorville, it's a chance for the winner of Morphy Parks and Kenilworth to get back into the 5. And the other big game is Plympton and Lockleys. That's at Plympton Oval, 3rd versus 4th, a big one. The winner of that will be in 3rd spot come Saturday night. On to Division 3. Where do we start with this? Well, Hope Valley, Smosh, pretty competitive game, but Hope Valley won. All the teams, it was top 5 versus bottom 5. Top 5 teams, I think, all got up. Flinders Park over Westminster by 93. Gazer gave Scotch a run, but Scotch won by 13. Only Mercedes, 10-goal winners at Pembroke, and Modbury easily over Seaton by 82 points. The ladder in Division 3, 4 games left. Modbury, only Mercedes, Hope Valley separated by just 1 win. Flinders Park a game further back, Scotch in the 5, a game and a half from 4th, and a game and a half in the 5 ahead of Pembroke, who are even money at 7 and 7. Then it drops. It is a race in 6 for the Div 3 Premiership. Seaton on 4 wins, probably safe. Smosh with 3 wins, definitely not, especially with their percentage. Westminster with 2, they get a 3rd win, they'll probably jump Smosh. More about that in a sec. And Gazer looked relegation bound. They're 2 wins away, albeit with a cracking percentage for a team with just 1 victory. The big games, and there's plenty in Division 3. Let me walk you through them. At the bottom end of the ladder, Pembroke and Seaton Ramblers. That's 6th versus 7th. Close in the standings, not in the wins. Pembroke need that to stay in touch with the 5. They're going to hope Hope Valley take care of Scotch. That's 3rd versus 5th. The other big game, only Mercedes Jets hosting Flinders Park. That's 2nd versus 4th. But probably the biggest game of consequence in Div 3, Smosh playing Westminster, 8th versus 9th. Again, the winner out of the relegation zone for the moment. The loser right slap bang in it with a chance to drop to Div 4. It's getting to the end of the season, folks. There's plenty happening, and that's the beauty of the Adelaide Footy League with promotion and relegation. Just about everyone is playing for something of significance. Certainly the case in the Breakthrough Mental Health Foundation Division 2, where Rocks, key 31-point win over Henley, keeps their finals chances alive. Foss over Salisbury North keeps their top 3 chances in good hands. Golden Grove, way too much for Adelaide University. The Kookaburras by 78. They are starting to extend their lead at the top of Div 2. North Haven, season on the line to avoid relegation, did what they had to do. They beat Edwardstown, who'd been in pretty good form, by 35 points. And Athelston also created the upset, beating Payneham Norwood Union by 2 goals at Max Amber Sportsfield. So that's probably shaken up the ladder here a little bit. Golden Grove looks set for the minor premiership. 2 games in percentage over the Falcons, and Foss, who are now tied for 2nd, just short of that by percentage. It drops 2 games back to Athelston despite the upset win, and a game further back to Salisbury. That's in the 5 by percentage, and Rox's percentage needs some work. Edwardstown, they had a big chance to be right in the battle for 5th, instead losing to North Haven. It puts them in a bit of no man's land. Henley, Adelaide Uni and North Haven, 3 teams, 1 survives. At the moment it's the Sharks, but it could be any of those bottom 3. North Haven percentage is a little bit behind, but you get the wins, it can build pretty quickly. The biggest games here, well, there's a couple of them. Henley and Adelaide University, that's massive. Again, this is the 3rd division I've mentioned this. The winner of this is out of relegation for the moment. The loser is right in it, you would suspect. Then you go to Golden Grove and Athelston, 1st versus 4th, and Edwardstown and Salisbury North is 7th versus 5th. If Edwardstown win that, they're in the finals hunt. Lose that, it's going to be a race in 6. That's the Breakthrough Mental Health Foundation Division 2. Just 1 to go, and it's the big one, Division 1, where we had a few upsets here. Sacred Heart did the job over Prince Alfred in a pretty tight game all day. Tied at quarter time, and Sacred Heart bit by bit broke it open. Good final quarter, winning by 5 goals. Just Prince Alfred's 2nd loss of the season, and they lost top spot because of it. St. Peter's and Old Ignatians, well, Old Iggies, we've known this for a while. They look destined for Div 2. St. Peter's, still a slight chance of missing relegation, a 32-point win. Big result here. Brighton beat Port District by 18 points. That creates separation between the top 3 and the defending champs, and puts Brighton in a 3-way tie for 5th. We'll show you that in a moment. The one game that went pretty much to script, Glenunga over Goodwood Saints by 63 points. They had it won pretty much at quarter time, leading 33-1. That was the scores, not the odds. Tea Tree Gully and Broadview was a close game. Broadview broke it open late to win by 22. As I said, we've got a 3-way tie for 5th spot. Let me show you all the connotations that come out of those results. We have a new league leader, Glenunga at 12-2. A game back from Prince Alfred, and then it goes to Sacred Heart. Port District, now 2 games back. They'll play finals, no doubt about that. but they're 2 games back and a decent percentage now. Hard to see Port District not playing in the elimination final. They'll host it. Tea Tree Gully, Brighton, Broadview. 3 teams, 1 spot to play finals. Tea Tree Gully, the slight percentage advantage for the moment. Goodwood Saints, they're game and a half out of the 5th, and they're a game and a half out of relegation. They play St. Peter's next week. That's massive for both. And Ogies look set for Div 2. The games next week in Division 1, Broadview and Glenunga. Prince Alfred host Old Ignatians. Port District and Tea Tree Gully is 4th versus 5th. Both need a win. Shock and Brighton. That game is at Glenelg Oval. The Battle of Brighton Road will be at Brighton Road down at the Bay. Should be a cracker. And the Goody Saints St. Peter's is the Stream Team game of the week. It's 8th versus 9th, but there will be no shortage of desperation in that encounter at the Goodwood Oval. Okay, that's all the ladders, the results, the big games. Who's Phil's team of the week for round 14? Some honourable mentions. Blackfriars finally won a close high-scoring contest. Colonel Light Gardens, 3rd beat 2nd, 2 wins between them going in. North Haven defeating Edwardstown, Athelston beating Payneham Norwood Union, Shock beating Prince Alfred, Brighton beating Port District, 4 wins between those sides going in, and Broadview beating Tea Tree Gully. So they're the ones where the lower team beat the higher team. I've gone with a team that had 4 less wins and season really on the line, and they came good. And I think they won this week's team of the week. North Haven defeating Edwardstown by 35 points. They've kept their hopes of avoiding relegation alive. Congratulations to North Haven. So that's a wrap on the weekend wrap. Thanks again to O'Neill Sportswear for their support. Thank you for tuning in. Until next week's episode, hope you enjoy your footy.
Welcome back to Between the Posts. Tommy Javor, joined by Jad. It's buddy bet time, mate.
Very exciting.
It is. Now, mate, we're going to go to your neck of the woods. We're going to go to Division 6 because there's some boys that love a punt down there. Which game do you think we're going to go? Have a look.
I think the biggest game of the week, Greenacres versus Salisbury, 2nd versus 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Greenacres as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. They've lost 1 game in 2 years. Is that right?
And the draw, yep.
And the draw, yep. Spot on. I was at Greenacres on the weekend as well. They're a keen mob. They are super connected. I'm going to open it up to you now. The thing that excites me about this is Salisbury sitting 3rd, 10 and 3. 0.16% difference. So they're both high-scoring teams. That I reckon they've got their eyes on a premiership, both these teams. Who are you taking, mate?
I'll take the favourites, Greenacres. They have a very proven track record in this league. So, I'll pick them.
Yes, great man in Chapel said never bet against the streak. So you've probably done the right thing there. I am going to take Salisbury because it's at Salisbury, the wide expanses. I think Coach Brett Joseph will have a few little trickies up the sleeve. So straight out, head to head, you've got
Greenacres.
I've got Salisbury, buddy bet, you're on. Gamble responsibly, bet with mates.
Well, Division 3, like all the leagues, is nearing its regulation conclusion, but things have really started to crank up in intensity. Last time we did our Division 3 specialist wrap, I covered more of some of the off-field mantras that were coming from the certain clubs, and more importantly, some of the different things that they were doing and events that they were hosting. But I think it's time to peel our eyes back on the field because things have definitely changed a little bit as we take a look at the Division 3 ladder. Modbury have jumped back up to the top of the ladder with a 12 wins, 2 loss record, the strongest percentage in the competition. It'll be hard to go with them, although it is still a 3-way race for the top of the ladder because Hope Valley, after having a couple of sore weeks, they had a tough fortnight back in early July, late June, but they've really started to bounce back now. And well, I tell you what, again, with the plethora of options they have up forward as well, which we'll cover when we go into our leading goal kickers, they've still got a strong chance to finish top. Unley Mercedes Jets as well have also put together some really nice matches. The Premiership reunion that we obviously saw a couple of weeks ago definitely went down in style for the Unley Mercedes Jets. A 3-way race at the top of the ladder. But now we also need to take a look at Flinders Park and Scotch in 4th and 5th because they haven't quite sealed off those positions. A bit of daylight between Hope Valley and the rest of the ladder below it. Obviously, those teams in the bottom three as well, Smosh, West Lakes, Gaza and Westminster, all competing to avoid relegation. It's funny to note that while Gaza has the worst win-loss record, they have a very good percentage with 39.53 by the standards of some other bottom place teams we've seen on the ladders this year. They've actually done really well, and they've also got a surprising goal kicker, which we'll talk about in a bit. But let's take a look at Scotch's remaining fixture, because they're currently placed fifth. They only have a percentage of 48.87, which is weaker than the percentage of Pembroke. Now, Pembroke's fixture consists of playing all three of the bottom three teams in the last 4 weeks, meaning that they will continue to crank up the pressure. What about Scotch? Well, this weekend, it's Hope Valley. They got to come up against the top three Hope Valley, and they caused an upset against them earlier in the year. That was a huge result that changed the course of their season and pulled them out of the bottom end of the mid-table back into finals contention. But can they replicate that? Then it's a little bit easier with Smosh West Lakes, but right after that, it's against the top of the ladder, Modbury. So only 2 of their next 4 matches, remaining 4 matches, could be classified as easy. And if Pembroke are guaranteed, maybe not so much guaranteed, but incredibly likely to win another 3, it could really start to crank up the pressure there. Although Scotch have the advantage of an extra draw, meaning that they'll definitely need to win those last 2 games. But finals is in their control now. Flinders Park, 2 games clear of Scotch. Their fixture also looking similarly difficult, with Hope Valley and Unley Mercedes Jets en route to their finish as we take a look at their final 4 weeks. So while there are a couple of easy matches scattered in here, you never know. It could only take one bad upset for one of these teams to slip out of the top 5 entirely. That'll be a really interesting race to look at. But we also take a look now at our leading goal kickers for Division 3. It's Liam Verity from Modbury at the top of the table, just like the team itself. 52 goals for the year, on par with Daniel Nobles from Hope Valley. The leading goal kicker race really cranking up there, and it's incredibly neck and neck. Matthew Min from Hope Valley as well. Don't rule him out. Hopefully they don't steal the goals off of each other, because that would be really disappointing if they lose one or the other the award because of that. Mark Evans as well from Pembroke Old Collegians. We talked about him earlier. He knows how to kick a fancy goal, but he also knows how to kick 35 for the year. Keep in mind, that is 14 goals less than the top 3 Matthew Min. So you could definitely see a bit of daylight there. But Max Teague as well from Flinders Park with 34. Luke Heaslip from Unley with 33. Jake Sutcliffe with 33 goals as well, also from Unley Mercedes Jets. Benjamin Bailey from Gaza, bottom place team, but he's still been a really strong key forward this year and has kicked 32 goals for his team, rounds out the top 8 for our leading goal kickers, and then Joshua Studham for the Seaton Ramblers and Jaden Watson for Modbury with 27. So a lot of really good goal kickers, and you consider how low the goal kicking tally is in Division 1. Well, if you like to see players kick bags and get over that 50 plus goal mark, you definitely want to tune into some Div 3 games. But also looking at some of the best players according to Play HQ, Darcy Pisani from Modbury is the most impressive so far, with 11 best on-ground performances according to Play HQ. Of course, best players are ranked within extended quantities through most matches, but full credit to him, he's been one of the best this year. Darcy Ginniver from Smosh West Lakes, it hasn't been their year. They might have the weakest percentage on the ladder, but they have one of the best individual performers in Darcy Ginniver, and he'll be one to look out for whether or not they get relegated or whether they persist through Div 3 next year. Tom Schwartz from Flinders Park with 10 best player performances as well. Aaron Stewart with 9 from Modbury. Hamish Winter-Irving from Scotch also with 9 best player performances, and William Riddle from Hope Valley with 9 as well. It's easy to get a mention in the best players, but when you do start to stand out with those extra numbers, you start to question. Of course, there's no Media Player of the Year award for Div 3, but I'll be incredibly intrigued to see who the best and fairest for that division will be, because the race there also looks like it's starting to crank up. But that rounds out my Division 3 specialist coverage for this particular week. We'll take a look at another 3 weeks' time as we'll really start to approach the end of the year. Things will crank up in intensity. As we said, that mid-table is not sealed off. A couple of ladder-shaping games will be coming up for teams such as Scotch and Flinders, as well as Pembroke, so there's a lot to unpack there. Will Pembroke be able to overtake Scotch, or will Scotch be able to cap off a solid season with a finals appearance? It'll be really intriguing to find out what the result there will be. But that's our Division 3 specialist coverage for this week. I'll be back with you in a couple of weeks' time to let you know what's going on around the league, on and off the field. It's time to take a look at the Roll the Dice leaderboard for one last time before the season's end, where a winner, of course, will be crowned. And I'll tell you one thing, there actually hasn't been a whole lot of change to the top three, Jad.
Yeah, it's been pretty much the same. All of them not really getting points this week, but doesn't mean it wasn't an exciting round of footy because there's only a few rounds left and we won't know the leaderboard after this round.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because Abe Davis currently leading with 16 votes, didn't poll any votes this weekend. 2 of them went to Bo Schwartz, which puts him on equal with multiple players on 10 votes, including Sam Gray, Alex Kaialola, and Nigel Osborne. None of them polled any votes this weekend either, as far as we're concerned, but Chris Curran from PAC on 11, and Blake Penny with 13 votes from Tea Tree Gully. You feel like if Tea Tree sneak into the finals, it'll have to be on the back of him putting together back-to-back-to-back highlight performances, because he's really good at that stuff. If I had to make an early predicament, though, I think Abe Davis has done far too much good this year to lose that lead now. And while it's only 3 votes, I reckon he'll get more and more in the last 4 weeks where they need to solidify their top 2 or top position on the ladder. So I reckon it's going to be Abe Davis, but what about you, Jad?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm going to go for Blake Penny. I've just watched him a few times. He's such a monster in the rock, and as you said, if Tea Tree Gully push for those final spots, he's going to be crucial for that.
And also, don't write off Nigel Osborne as well. I've seen him a couple times this year. It's all going to depend on, once again, if the Brighton Bombers can scrape into the finals, which makes it very interesting when you look at Blake Penny and Nigel Osborne's situations. 2 of the best players for teams in that mid-table bracket, and it's a question of whether or not they can edge each other in that race. And, well, that's all while also competing with Abe Davis and Chris Curran. And the way those teams are soaring, they don't need them to put together their best on-ground performances every week, but sometimes you just play well with the collective team, and that's what makes it easier. But that is our current standing of the Roll the Dice Player of the Year leaderboard. So 16 for Abe Davis in first position. Second is Blake Penny with 13 votes. Chris Curran third with 11. And with that, we can't give you an update these next 4 weeks. We are not permitted to, because we want to keep it a secret, and the reveal will be made once the season is concluded, and then Red Rowie's winner will be announced. So stay tuned, because the next 4 weeks you're going to have to keep an eye on those results and make up your own predictions. Let us know in the Facebook comment sections as well who you think will be the winner for the Roll the Dice Media Player of the Year award. And continue to watch the footy in the meantime, because the race is far from over.
And Crone takes the lead in the Coolmore. Crone draws clean out from Mizzy. It's a Queensland victory. And a big payday for his owners, winning the English Millennium in a romp.
But Ayrton the class, and Ayrton won the Victoria Handicap.
But Mahuda goes all the way. Where again, Mahuda?
Taliqua, too classy for them. The Blue Star flashing, beats them all. A Blue Star gets up the win.
But it's all Globe, 100 metres to go. It's 6 lengths in front. This is an outstanding performance again. And Globe eased down, won the King's Coronation Cup in a canter.
Hello and welcome to this week's Division 6 wrap. So after 14 rounds, we have a very interesting division, plenty of action to go, and plenty of action has happened. Having a look at the top 5, I would say it's pretty much locked in. 5th place is 4 points, so 2 wins away from the team sitting in 6th with that win from Adelaide Lutheran. Central United are the ones that are sitting in 6th, Still a good chance for them to catch up. We'll get into that a little bit later, but looking at the contest at the top of the top, so we always look at we always love the people who are right at the top and the ones that are contending for the premiership. It's a very good contest for the minor premiership. Only separated by top 2 sides are the first and second. So Marion sitting on top by 1 point over Greenacres, who those 2 teams have pretty much been top 2 all year, and it's still very interesting seeing them fight it out for that top position. They've split the results this year, 1 win each between them, and once they meet in finals, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. They know how to beat each other, and throughout the whole season, they'll be the most 2 consistent ones, pushing for that minor premiership to get those home finals and moving into the grand final. Looking at some of their key players, they have the top 2 goal kicks in the league as well. So not only are they top on the ladder, but also top in the goal kickers. Matthew Gibson in second from Marion with 50 goals, and Patrick O'Day 54 goals from Greenacres. So huge results there, and really pushing for those final spots, as I mentioned, and those 2 will be a big part of if they go on to win the premiership. Looking at some other results, so in round 14 we saw Adelaide Lutheran beat Central United by 77 points, which brings them into 5th place and should lock them away. It's not over yet though for Central United, I'd say, because they are 2 wins away, but Adelaide Lutheran's last 4 games are very tough. They've all the teams are in final spots. So they should just not hang their head too low after that loss and just push on, because the draw is in their favour. Looking though, however, in the best placed team, I'll still put Adelaide Lutheran probably in the best placed team. If they sneak a win or 2 in the last 4 rounds, they should be fine with that 2 game buffer. But they do have a better defence than Central United, having 138 less points this season against. So they've conceded 138 less than Central United, and that will go a long way into the final rounds. Another big game in round 14 saw St Paul's beat Smithfield. So St Paul's were 8th, beat Smithfield in 9th to almost lock in those relegation spots. They move 5 points clear of that relegation zone, and with that many games left in the season, it will basically send Smithfield and Brahma Lodge to the relegation, unfortunately for them. Not the easiest year for them, but they've learnt a lot, and we'll go into it. They still have a lot of key players. So moving into that, key players of this division based on the Play HQ. A lot of the lesser teams on the ladder are featured here, but it just shows that they've been consistent, even maybe without the greatest support around them, or just not the best team in terms of ladder position, but they're still high level competitors. So Brandon Planager from Brahma Lodge, 11 of 14 being the best players. Anthony Thompson from Smithfield, 10 of 14. Benjamin Russell from Central United, so they're sitting in 6th, has 10 of 14 best players, so he's been really up there for a consistent mid-table team. Patrick Hugh from Rosewater, he has 10 of 13 as well, so a lot of consistent. Now we get into some of the crazy numbers. Dan Steele from Brahma Lodge, 10 of 11 games being in the best players, so when he plays he's been crucial for them. Not got the many wins Brahma Lodge unfortunately this year for him, but he's been a consistent performer. And a very interesting one, Adam Shelley from Brahma Lodge, 7 of 7, 100% of the games he played in this season have been best players. Really impressive, and if they do, well, it looks like they're going to get relegated now, unfortunately for them, but they could be the key players to try and get promoted next year in the division lower. So look out for those ones, not just for the rest of the season, but also next season. So yeah, that was my division wrap for Division 6. We got 4 games coming up, still a lot to play for, the relegations to be confirmed, finals, and also those home final spots, which we know are very crucial and go a long way of getting far into the final series. So yeah, thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, g'day footy fans, and welcome to the Women's Wrap, a look at all the action across the women's games, every game in the Adelaide Footy League, the ladders and the upcoming big matches as we head towards finals time. These are all the games played Saturday, July the 22nd. Starting off in the Villiers Bakery Division 6, Tea Tree Gully, Golden Grove, Athelston warmed up for upcoming finals campaigns with easy wins over Mitchell Park, Flinders Park and Ingle Farm respectively. But Goodwood Saints and Marion was a whole nother situation. Marion here led by 5 points at 3/4 time, but Goody Saints kicked the last goal to steal it by 1 point to get in an upset near the end of the season. What does that do to the standings in this division? Well, Athelston and Tea Tree Gully are the top two, and they meet, which might just open the door for Golden Grove if results fall their way to get into the second semi. Marion are destined to play in the finals on the road in the first semi-final in a couple of weeks, because it's a 14-round season, and for the Villiers Bakery Division 6, next week is the final minor round. Flinders Park and Ingle Farm will be at Roe Park, final games for both sides. Golden Grove and Goodwood, can the Saints make it 2 upsets in a row? You'd favour the Kookaburras. Tea Tree Gully and Athelston, well, they're the top two, and they'll play to host the second semi-final in a further week's time, depending on the margins and other results. Maybe it's a rematch on August the 12th. And the final match, Marion versus Mitchell Park, not too far to travel for the Lions of Mitchell Park. A nice place to have a drink afterwards, I might add, as well, at Marion. But you'd expect the Rams to respond and prepare for the finals with a win there. That's the Villiers Bakery Division 6. 1 round to go before the finals. A little bit earlier in the Power 8 Division 5 season, where it's round 12 just played, so 2 games to go. And Elizabeth, looks like their season's done. They forfeited quite a few in a row now. Woodville South with the win there. Loretto over Salisbury North. Edwardstown over Kilburn. That's a big win. We'll show you that in the ladder in a sec. As is Modbury over North Haven. So this is with 2 rounds to go. Modbury have a half-game lead over Loretto, with a further game back, Woodville South, North Haven and Edwardstown. So in essence, there's 2 wins between top and 5th, and 5th missed the finals. Kilburn, their season with that loss pretty much done. 2 wins and 16% to make up in 2 weeks, unlikely. Salisbury North, their season is all but done. Elizabeth, I think it is truly done. They haven't played for some time. So round 13 with another game, another round the following week. Friday night footy at Blair Athol, Kilburn and Modbury is pretty big. Elizabeth and North Haven, well, I'm not sure that's going to happen. 2 points to North Haven, you suspect. Salisbury North and Edwardstown, but the big, expect Edwardstown there, but the big one is Woodville South and Loretto. The loser of that leaves themselves vulnerable to a possible Edwardstown win. North Haven will get the 2 points with the forfeit over Elizabeth. It could come down to the spot in the 4, coming down to the last round in the Power 8 Division 5. On to the Nearmouth Mouthguards Division 4, and here Eastern Park beat Lockleys by 17, Fitzroy over West Croydon by 16, Hectorville over Scott, shut him out, 71-point win to the Hounds. Mitcham allowed Greenacres one behind, en route to a 95-point victory. What does that do for the ladder here? Well, Hectorville a game ahead of Eastern Park. Mitcham's win lifts them from 5th out of the finals into 3rd. Scott's dropped to 5th and Lockleys dropped out. Percentage says Lockleys still have a chance here. And you look at the games coming up. Again, this is the last minor round match. This is with 1 game to go. And here we go. Lockleys and Fitzroy that's 5th versus 6th. Lockleys would be favoured to win and get to 8 wins. West Croydon and Mitcham. Well, Mitcham you'd expect to be favourites to win and stay in the finals. Scotch and Eastern Park. Well, Scotch are vulnerable. If they lose to Eastern Park, does it open the door for Lockleys? Absolutely. So Scotch have got to find a way to get past Eastern Park, who are sitting in 2nd spot. And Greenacres and Hectorville, which is top versus bottom, is the only game without finals implications as we round out round 14, the last minor round in the Nearmouth Mouthguards Division 4. To the 9 News Division 3, Hope Valley had the bye. Pulteney beat Pembroke by 16. Mega win to Flinders Park, 103 over Salisbury. And Jeps Cross held Kenilworth goalless. Kicked 7-20, so that could have been anything. As it is, it was a 60-point victory over the Kenilworth-Flinders Uni combination. Those results, Flinders Park still stay on top, a half a game ahead of Pembroke. And indeed, Pembroke going down to Pulteney meant that Flinders Park jumped into top spot at Pembroke's expense. Hope Valley is a further half game behind, as is Pulteney. So one win separates the top four. And the finals is set with 2 games to go. Jeps Cross, Salisbury and Kenilworth cannot play finals this year. The games of note here in Division 3, Pulteney versus Salisbury is 4th versus 6th. You'd expect Pulteney to win, a chance to climb up the ladder. Flinders Park and Kenilworth, Flinders Uni, well, that you'd expect a victory there for Flinders Park, a chance for them to stay atop the ladder. Pembroke and Hope Valley, that's the huge game. That is 2nd versus 3rd. The winner of that will be in 2nd spot, likely 1st spot if Flinders Park get upset. But their top 2 chances, their double chance chances, certainly would lie with the winner of that. The loser, with a further round to go the following week, August the 12th, would be unlikely to get the double chance. But they're certainly in the finals in the Nine News Division 3. The final division that is heading into its last round is Division 2. And the round 13 results saw Tea Gully with the bye, Golden Grove shutting out Gazer by 89, Westminster over Angle Vale by 28, and Goodwood Saints ended the Brighton Bombers season. Brighton have the bye in the final round. The Bombers got a win a week ago, couldn't make it 2 in a row. Goodwood by 70 points. So the ladder with 1 round to go. Tea Gully a game ahead of Goodwood, a game ahead of Golden Grove, and Westminster will play finals but will be on the road for the first semi to either Golden Grove or the Goodwood Saints. And that's going to be sorted out in the final week because these 2 teams, Golden Grove and Goodwood, play each other at Harpers Field. The winner of that should be 2nd. Slightest a slight chance Goodwood Saints could lose and keep 2nd if it was a narrow result, but that's unlikely. Golden Grove with a win of any sort of consequence would go into 2nd. Other games, Tea Gully will play Westminster, the Dragons' final game of the season, and Gazer and Angle Vale. You'd expect that game between 5th and 6th should be an entertaining affair out at Clemzig Reserve, and then both teams can celebrate the end of their season. That is Division 2 heading into the last minor round this weekend coming up. Leaves us the Division 1, and in the reserves, Broadview over Smosh by 9. Payneham Norwood Union held Happy Valley goalless, 48-point win there. As did Morphy Parks over Adelaide Uni by 62, and Henley beat Old Ignatians by 37. This is the Division 1 reserves where it's a race in 3. Falcons, Tigers, Roos. Smosh and Happy Valley will fight it out for the last final spot, but you think they're just making up the numbers literally. Henley with 4 wins, Adelaide Uni with 2, and Old Ignatians, I think, have the wooden spoon pretty much run and done with 2 rounds remaining. To the Division 1 itself, and here Broadview and Smosh, great game. Broadview hanging on by 4 points, one of Smosh's probably best efforts of the season. Falcons beat Happy Valley by 74. Morphy Parks beat Adelaide Uni by 24, and Henley beat Old Ignatians by 57. So the 4 teams in the top 4 all won. Should mean, if you look at the ladder, that top 4 is finalised with those results. Top 3, that's still to be worked out. Broadview with 1 loss, Payneham, Norwood Union and Morphy Parks with 2. Henley will play finals, they'll be on the road come first semi-final time. Smosh, Adelaide Uni, Old Ignatians and Happy Valley. They've got 2 games left to enjoy the rest of the season. The matchups next week, Happy Valley and Henley. Payneham Norwood Union at Morphy Parks is the game of the round. Old Ignatians and Smosh, and Adelaide University host Broadview. Alrighty, that is a wrap on all the women's competition. Between the posts, don't check out Beck Northcott's regular segment there. Until next week, We'll start talking finals next week. Thanks to O'Neill Sportswear for their support. Thank you for watching. Until those finals begin, hope you enjoy your footy.
It's time to take a look around the league, as we always like to keep in touch with what everybody that contributes to our competition likes to do in their spare time. And in this particular instance, it was Tom Wren who went to Mawson Lakes Football Club last Thursday and gave out the $500 cheque for Police Credit Union. So congratulations to the Mawson Lakes Football Club on that $500 voucher. Spend it well, spend it wisely.
And like every week, the 5AA kick for cash occurred, and Darren and Chelsea had a shot at the $1,000, but unfortunately did not get it. Don't think we've had a winner yet this year, but now the finals are coming, the pressure heats up, and I'm sure someone can hopefully get it soon. Also, congratulations to the Division 5 Reserve Kilburn Football Club for the West End Player of the Week. They will receive a Carlton Draft carton for winning that prize, so congratulations to them.
And thank you to all the sponsors that allow us to keep in touch with everything going on around the league, including 9 News, Adelaide Police Credit Union, as mentioned before, with their voucher, Billy's Bakery, Yum Yum, SA Gourmet Meats, Yum Yum, West End Parade, 5AA, and all of our contributing sponsors to around the league. But that's all we've got for this week. We'll bring you more updates next week, as we always do, to give you a taste of what goes on off the field in the Adelaide Footy League.
Tom Wren is on the ground, teaming up with the Adelaide Footy League for Thursday Night Live. 9 News in the Adelaide Footy League, strengthening communities through footy.
It's come that time of the week again to look at the best mark and the best goal. First of all, though, let's look at the winners from last week. Bianco's Mark of the Week winner from last week was Jarman Segal for the second time this year from the Brighton Bombers, so congratulations to him. The man certainly knows how to time his jumps. And the goal of the week was to Ryan Xanthopoulos from the Golden Grove Football Club, so congratulations to him too. But those are just the winners from last week. Jad, I think it's time to take a look at the entire year, because we've really built up a hard drive. Let's start with the marks, because we've got a lot of major speckies to get through. Some fantastic stuff, as you can see. We're going to need a hard drive to store all of this stuff on. It's almost Jeremy Howe-like, a lot of it. And, well, I reckon we have to pick out 3 of our favourites, which was really difficult to do. But, Jad,
yes,
what were your 3 favourites?
Yeah, for me, I like Jericho John from Adelaide Lutheran. He's my Division 6, or maybe a little bit biased, but that was an amazing mark. I think no one can deny that. Also, Paul Pilopolo from Hope Valley, as well as our 2 wildcards at the end. They really stole the show, in my opinion, also, with Mark Evans from Pembroke and Ryan Scoville from Edwardstown.
Yeah, I've got a similar list actually. Jericho John was listed as my number 3, and I really like what he did at Adelaide Lutheran with that particular jump, mostly because of the amount of height he got on it. Yeah. Mark Evans is my second, of course, as well. I was very impressed with what he put together. But for me, I don't think you can go past Paul Puopolo. Maybe biased to our prior knowledge of what he's done at AFL level, but still, it is such a fantastic mark, and he can deliver a highlights reel on his own, regardless of the team's result, almost academic as far as things go, because Paul Puopolo puts on his own highlight reel. But now it's also time to take a look at some of the goals of the year. We'll roll the footage of some fantastic out-of-this-world stuff. Once again, very difficult to pick a top three because, well, mark of the year is always going to be the same thing. It's going to be a specky. Yep. It's only about measuring the quality of a specky. But a goal of the year can be anything. It can be a banana. It can be a long bomb. It can be a soccer off the deck, soccer out of midair. There's so many different alternative ways to measure a goal of the year. Jad, what did you come up with?
Yeah, so for me, I like them all. There was obviously Thomas Worsby in there, but the one I went for was my favourite, as you mentioned, a soccer kick out the air. Big volley, World Cup style for Malachi Armat from Salisbury North. So yeah, that was my top one.
Yeah, well, my top three looking a little bit different. Tom Fuss was my number third from Scotch Old Collegians. I was really impressed with the way he was able to deliver that one. But Tom Welsby from the Brighton Bombers, the bouncing physics on that snap. Arguably, the goal was probably done more by the footy gods than it was Welsby himself, but I still reckon it's a miraculous result. But for my money, Caleb Maynard from the Houghton Districts Football Club was the most impressive for me. So completely subjective though, those are just our top three, and those are also the results from throughout the year, and obviously we covered the winners from last week. Remember that the contenders for Mark and Goal of the Week for this weekend, from the time that this episode comes out, will be published on the official Adelaide Footy League Facebook page. Remember to cast your vote using the appropriate emoji reaction. But keep in mind, we've still got 4 weeks to go. How many more highlights could be produced during that time? Stay tuned. It'll be exciting to decide on the mark and goal of the year when it all comes down to the wire.
It was applied by Serene. There was an umpire's whistle on the play on potentially. Was that kicked off the ground? It is! What a goal from the boundary!
He gets it to a teammate in need. John Rodos launches all the way to the line.
athlete, the competitor with the hunger to compete. I am for the one who wants to get in their opponent's grill. I am the one who brings you the science. I am Neomorph. I am your protector.
The near side of the goalpost. Jordan Personal quickly plays out from full. Oh, what a mark there by Spittle. Bianco, mark of the week.
Tuna sushi, spicy chicken. Up there.
Turns, looks on the left, kicks out wide, look out! Oh, the two player.
The near side of the goalpost. Jordan Personal quickly plays out from full. Oh, what a mark there by Spittle.
Followed by 3-0 and umpires missed the
mark and play on potentially.
Was that kicked off the ground? It is! Oh, no. What a goal from the boundary!
He had to read the ball. He gets it to a teammate in need. John Rodos launches all the way to the line.
It's been a great show, but now we do come to the end, sadly. Thanks to all the guests, thanks to all the sponsors, and we saw all the big marks, big goals, big highlights, big 4 rounds coming up of the season before the finals.
Well, thank you for accompanying me today, Jan. And remember, you can always tune in to the latest Adelaide Footy League action by going to the official Facebook page as well as the Dartfish website and visiting the Filming Footy YouTube channel to tune into the live streams that we stream every week. Remember, the Adelaide Footy League is one of the few leagues around the country that live streams all 5 of their games every weekend with the best coverage available for you. But thank you to all tuning in, and we look forward to bringing you another episode of Between the Posts as well as more footy action within the next month coming up in the build-up to finals. Thank you to all tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Hi, I'm Jad Gosson, and thanks for watching Between the Posts.
Thank you for watching Between the Posts.
Thanks for watching Between the Posts.